Yeah, good afternoon. The first talk is management of cervical lock facet, Dr. Ved Prakash Maurya.
Okay, a very good afternoon to all. First of all, I would like to congratulate the entire organizing team for organizing such an scientific program on the virtual platform. And I would also like to be thankful to the organizing secretary and his team for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my scientific work on this platform. So today I am going to share post-traumatic cervical locked facet, a tertiary center experience of an Apex Trauma Center from Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow. So these are my declarations that I have no potential conflict of interest to declare. So before embarking on the topic proper, I would like to take a brief review of surgical anatomy of the facet joint of the cervical region. As we all know, that facet joint of cervical region is comprised of inferior articular process from the superior vertebra and superior articular process of the inferior vertebra. This facet joint is involved in a number of degenerative diseases as well as involved with or without number of trauma composed of fracture of the vertebral body, lamina, and facet itself. And when there is a significant amount of hyperflexion, hyperextension, or combination of these forces, including rotatory forces, then the superior articular process jumps anterior-inferior to the inferior articular process, and the inferior articular process get exposed, and it is called as locked facet or jumped facet. And the exposed facet is called as naked facet sign. So we plan to evaluate the clinical outcome and surgical nuances which are related with management of locked facet during August 2018 to March 2020. So this is the methodology of our study. After taking Institute Ethical Committee approval, the retrospective data was retrieved from the Institute record keeping system and from the department record keeping system. The patients who were proven radiologically to have locked facet were included in the study, and those patients with cervical spine injury found to be not having locked facet, and those who were managed non-operatively were excluded from this study. So those patients who attended to emergency department of Apex Trauma Center, they were subjected to advanced trauma life support guidelines by the trauma team, complete head-to-toe evaluation that is called a secondary survey in language of advanced trauma life support performed. Once it is done, the patient are referred to neurosurgery for definitive care. So the included patients were subjected to cervical spine stabilization, and detailed data collected and analysis was performed. So this was the material and method in which we included 30 patients for this study. So the demographic profile of the study patients are: gender, male patients were 26 and female were 4. 20 years to 40 years age group comprised maximum amount of patients, that is 14 patients, and 5 patients were less than 20 years, and 4 50 to 60, and 3 patients were 40 to 50 years. Most common mode of injury was fall from height. As India is a developing country, most of the patients were involved in construction work. Second contributing factor was road traffic accident, right? 8 patients. Associated injury along with locked facet were fracture of humerus noticed in 1 patient and linear thoracic vertebral fracture in 1 patient. Neurological evaluation was performed uniformly in all the patients by using American Spinal Injury Association scale, in which we noticed 10 patients to be of grade D, 9 of grade B, 6A, and C comprised of 5 patients. The functional status of the patients were evaluated by using McCormick grade scale, in which 21 patients were found to be in grade 5, 5 in grade 2, 2 in grade 3, and 1 each in grade 4 and grade 1. Radiological evaluation performed by doing the MRIs of the spine along with the screening of the brain, and followed by CT of the cervical spine. So radiologically, the pathological level was most common C4, C5, 11 patients, and C6, C7 also 11 patients. C5, C6 contributed 7 patients. So bilateral locked facet was noticed in 18 patients, while unilateral was noticed in 12 patients. At the time of admission, bladder ball was involved in 22 patients, and preoperative action was applied on 8 patients. Surgical intervention, it was a great dilemma whether to go for anterior approach, posterior approach, or anterior and posterior both. So we came up with a management algorithm in which, after getting the clinical radiological evaluation done and finding out whether it is unilateral log facet or bilateral log facet, the status of ligamentous complex is evaluated. If it is severed with extruded disc, then anterior approach was performed first, where we remove the offending element in the form of discectomy or corpectomy if required. Then we turn the patient to prone position, do the facet drilling, release the locking, and stabilize by lateral mass or pedicle screw stabilization as required. Then again turn the patient to supine position and perform the spacer and plate fixation. If the patient is having severe ligamentous complex but no extruded disc, then we prefer the posterior approach first, in which we drill the facets, release the locking, and do the stabilization, followed by anterior approach, in which cervical spacer and plate fixation was done. If the ligamentous complex is not injured or it is intact, then either anterior or posterior approach was performed, depending upon the status of the intervertebral disc. And in all the patients who underwent surgery, intraoperative cervical traction was performed. In the time of follow-up, mean duration of follow-up hospital stay was 19 days, and regular clinical radiological evaluation was performed at 3, 6, and 12 months as a departmental protocol. Tracheostomy was performed during the hospital stay in 8 patients. Mean follow-up period was 21.5 months. So during the post-operative period, heart cervical cover was revised for 6 weeks. Bladder and ball status at follow-up visit in 10 patients was still there on catheter. So at the last time of follow-up, ASIA and McCormick graded evaluation shows that patients with moderate to severe scale, severe disease were 6 at the time of last follow-up at 12 months, and McCormick grade moderate to severe scale of disease was noticed in 6 patients as compared to 24 patients, which was noticed at the time of admission. So total 9 mortality were noticed in our study, and the cause of death was sepsis due to prolonged hospital stay, pulmonary embolism followed by anticipated by deep vein thrombosis, and tracheostomy leading to tube blockage. So timing of surgery is one long-term discussion, whether to go for immediate surgery, and one school of thought says that we should wait for a period of 2 to 3 weeks, let the cervical cord edema to subside, then go ahead. But in our center, we have followed as soon as possible. The patient radio clinical evaluation is performed, we go ahead with the surgical intervention. Whether to go for anterior or posterior approach is another topic of debate, where we follow our algorithm whether to go for anterior or posterior. Attempting reduction from the anterior approach, some of the surgeons used to do with anterior approach reduction of the log facet, but at our center we have not attempted that. We follow cervical collar for 6 weeks. I will share a couple of cases. 50-year-old gentleman who fall from height 20 feet, brought to our center after 12 hours of trauma. His clinical evaluation shows GCS E4 M6B5, ASIA grade 3, McCormick grade 3, ASIA grade C. Bladder involvement was noticed with intact bulbocorneus reflex. This is the radiology showing C4, C5 disc bulge with significant chord compression. The naked facet sign is visible on MPR images. So patient was taken up for anterior approach first, disc was removed, then posterior approach where exposure was done from C2 to C6, and we can see the green triangles showing the facet, naked facet of the inferior vertebra. Stabilization was performed from C3 to C5. Then patient was turned supine where spacer and plate was applied, and this is the intra-op C-arm image showing 360-degree fusion with anterior and posterior implants in situ. Post-operative follow-up visit, his sensorium was intact, with ASIA grade improved to grade D, McCormick to grade 2. Bladder and ball was intact. And the gentleman, 45-year-old, who met with road traffic accident, presented to our hospital after 12 hours of trauma. Cervical traction was applied intraoperatively and reduction was achieved. Operated next day of the admission. So his MRI shows disc bulge as C4, C5 and subluxation as well as disc bulge as C6, C7. So we preferred the anterior approach since we achieved the reduction in this. And this is an intraoperative C-arm image showing adequate reduction achieved. And we performed stabilization at both the levels, C4, C5 and C6, C7. So the post-operative X-ray showing the implants in situ. The third patient is 52-year-old gentleman who fell from height at 30 feet while working in a building. Trended 2 days later after getting referred from a private hospital. He was operated on the 4th day of trauma. So the MRI showing compression at C6, C7 with unilateral locked facet. So he underwent posterior approach only, where we achieved a significant stabilization from C5 to T1. So my take-home message is case selection and appropriate approach, whether to go for anterior, posterior, or we have to combine with anterior as well as posterior, because this surgery carries significant morbidity, is important according to the individual case. So neuroanesthesia and neurocritical care are important members of the team. So intraoperative neuromonitoring is an important operative agent and must be taken into account. And nowadays we have started using for each and every case in our center. Rehabilitative measures with the help of physical medicine and rehabilitation gives a long-term better outcome. These are few of my references, and I acknowledge my entire department for carrying out this study. Thank you for patience listening.
Yeah. Any other questions there?
Dr. Ved Prakash.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Balandi.
I'm Dr. Rakesh Gupta. You said from anterior approach, trying for reduction, you never do it, or you have tried, not successful, then you stop doing it?
Okay, thank you for your nice comment, sir. Actually, we as a beginner, we have not attempted in trauma center.
Okay.
We find it little bit difficult as well as more morbid because of adjacent esophagus, trachea, and such neurovascular structures. Posterior approach we find pretty safe, and that's why we attempt most of the cases to posterior.
I am concerned with only one thing, that
Yes.
if you are able to get the good reduction and unlocking of the facet, then your whole procedure can be done with only one approach. It is anterior approach. So we have been doing this intraoperative reduction by two or like some maneuvers and by putting the distractors and things like that, and we could be successful in few cases.
I personally, I have not attempted. One of my senior has done a couple of cases as per his description, but I personally have not tried this, sir.
Okay, thank you.